welcome to the Warner Brothas podcast. My name is Keenan, joined by my brother Kyle, as always, guest, friend of the show, of course, Kamden here as well.
K.
How you guys doing?
What's good? What's good?
Yep, I'm back. Nice to see you guys. I'm doing good today.
Great. We're coming off Sunday. We're coming off of an amazing Game 7, plus a great Game 1 as well. Last night's Game 1 with Denver Suns was great. Do you want to start chronologically, or do you want to start backwards? How would you like to start this?
I think we need to start with Game 7. So let's go with Game 7.
Yeah, I figured as such.
Game 7s are like a Super Bowl, so let's start there. Or even like an NFL playoff game. They're like a one-on-one kind of thing. So let's start with the Game 7, then we'll work to the Game 1s, and then what we got on the rest of the day is, you know what I mean? So, Cam, let's start. What were your thoughts on Game 7 today?
Game 7, man? I mean, we knew this series was going to be awesome. We knew they were going to score a lot. And this Game 7, there was times I was, worried for a moment. Going into half, I was like, Kings might have this. But, the GOAT, the best shooter of all time, showed up. And,
the GOAT. We get you.
And he just plays when he needs to play. I love what he did at the end. It was like light the beam now. I loved all of it.
I did too.
Yep. So what a game. Super fun to watch. Steph's unreal. That's a team to watch out for because Steph is on that team.
Most definitely.
Yes. Kyle, what did you think?
I just thought, much like Cam said, I mean, this is what we expected out of the series. I had it going 7 in the beginning. We got a fast-paced series from the start, really.
Yep.
We didn't have any real bad games in the series other than maybe Game 3, unless you want to count today. But we obviously got the 50-piece from Curry. Look, the game was close most of the way. Like you said, halftime was a 2-point game. It was a 1-point game after the first quarter. And let's say 3/4 of the third quarter even, it was a 1-2 possession game. And then Golden State kind of pulled away with it, extending it to 10 at the end of the third, and then they blew it open in the fourth. I was never really too worried about Golden State today, even though they got blown out on the home floor. I did not expect that kind of loss the other night when they lost on Game 6. But Game 7s are just such a different atmosphere. And you could see it today with Curry. He was so relaxed. Anytime he had the ball, he was just holding it, bleeding the clock, waiting until about 8 seconds on the shot clock to really decide what he wanted to do with the rock. And, that's one of his best games, clearly. Game 7, 50-piece, you could argue that is his best game in the postseason. He's had plenty of great moments, but just the calm and ease he played with, just himself. He was the most calm player on the court. He was almost serene, so it was cool to watch. He's at the point of his career like LeBron in 18, to me, where everything just kind of fits. He was just phenomenal today, truly.
Yeah. Steph Curry performance-wise, I'd probably put this 2 behind his 43 last year in Game 4. Just the final, I mean, obviously you could argue 2, but just the finals being down 2-1, obviously in Boston, I would probably put that one as his number 1. This would be number 2, surpassing either his Game 5 was 37 against the Cavs, or he's had a few other great ones as well. So, but he was great. I can't go through this without mentioning Kevon Looney and his Wilt Chamberlain, he's more Bill Russell-esque self with his he's developed 65% of Draymond's passing ability. So he does see the floor well, and that's what you're going to get when you play with greats. And obviously you're coached by an all-time great as well, and Steve Kerr. So you're naturally just going to keep progressing and progressing. So he's passing the ball well. Obviously, offensive rebounding-wise, he's right now the best in the league. And then finishing around the basket, he's fine, but he doesn't have to because that's what he's doing. And then defensively, he can switch onto a guard for a possession and actually stay and be poised there. Pick and roll-wise, he's not a liability at all, and he defends the rim pretty well. So Kevon Looney was great.
Such a smart player.
Obviously a masterclass from Steph. He really is. He's perfect for that team, and he's become an integral part. They're losing this series without Looney.
Absolutely.
Completely. So he's become an actual component into this team and how it goes. Wiggins, Clay, and Jordan Poole didn't shoot well, but they all played hard. Moody, I've been surprised what Kerr was doing with Moody, giving him minutes as well. Moody's been playing pretty solid minutes when he's on the floor.
Energy.
But overall, he's good energy. DiVincenzo, Gary Payton II. They have a lot of different pieces they can kind of throw, and I think he didn't really play much this series, I think, because of the speed, and he tends to foul a little bit. But I think with a slower-paced game next series, you'll see Jonathan Kuminga a little bit more to be another body that they'll throw on LeBron, athletic, long. But overall, I think that was a really good game from the Warriors. They showed their championship pedigree, and the Kings, on the other hand, future is bright, light the beams bright. De'Aaron Fox had his worst game of the series. I don't think it was finger related. It might be, but he didn't seem to be too hampered. I just think you can have a bad game. It wasn't his night. Kevin Huerter was not great throughout the series, but overall, I'm super, super happy we're getting Lakers Warriors though.
What a matchup, right?
I can't wait.
That's what I'm super happy about. That's going to be great.
Just to touch on the Warriors real quick before we move on. Wiggins, I was very impressed with this series. Just how quickly he got himself acclimated. Like, he was ready to play. Basically, I mean, game one he played well, but by game two he looked like he was back in form, playing with a lot of confidence. I really like how this team looks right now. I truly do. We can review the other two games of the weekend so far, and then we can get it to our round two predictions, our series picks and all that. What did you think about the game today?
Yeah.
Heat Knicks. For me, the most interesting part of this game, Jimmy Butler, he obviously turns his ankle there at the end of the game. And I think they're up about 8 at that point. I don't know. I don't have the play right in front of me. But I couldn't believe it's about 3 minutes to go, maybe 4 minutes. The Knicks did not attack him, not once on defense, I don't think. They didn't even try to put him in a screen and roll action. Didn't try to get a switch onto him. Nothing. They didn't attack the one-legged Jimmy Butler at all. And it was very clear he was hampered. Like, he was walking up the court damn near. He looked like he had shit in his pants when he was running. Like, that's what he looked like. And they didn't even try to go one-on-one with him. What'd y'all think about that? And what'd you think about the game and this matchup in general?
Cam, you go first.
Of the game today, I would say, like, the Knicks are still in it because we didn't see Julius Randle today. I don't know why, like Kyle said, they didn't go at Jimmy Butler more than they could have because he was hurt. This Heat team, you just gotta love them, dude. It straight up feels like a bad AAU team of who they got, you know? And they're just rocking it. They're straight up rocking it. And people show up. Gabe Vincent's a legit guy. So I loved watching this game today. Super fun to watch. I like the Knicks in a lot of ways. Hopefully Mitchell Robinson can do something offensively for them. Like, just do something, dude. But I'll say Jalen Brunson played well. RJ Barrett, he's one of the streakiest players I've seen, but he played well. He played well today, and he needs to keep doing that if they want to stay in.
He's been coming along these playoffs.
Yes.
He's really starting to validate that number one prospect. I mean, out of high school, obviously number 3 overall pick in the draft. So he's starting to come around and actually be that guy for them, which is good because that's obviously what they drafted him to do.
But yet again, it's going to be a battle this series. I really do think that it's going to be yet again, I think a low-scoring series for the Knicks and whoever they play. They're just good at defense. And I'm really excited about whatever this is. And I'm excited to see how Emmanuel quickly plays this series as well, because he didn't do too hot today, only 9 points. To see him actually show up and do what we've seen him do before as well. So, yeah, it's definitely interesting. Hopefully Jimmy's okay, because I want to see Jimmy play as much as I possibly can, and I want him to be at his top level. So I'm excited about this series all in all. And Kyle Lowry coming up big. Kyle Lowry coming up big, not only in the game before, but this game too. He's showing up and not showing that he's not done. I thought he was done in a lot of ways going into this season. He's there, so I'm really excited about this a lot.
Yeah, Kyle Lowry is playing great veteran point guard basketball, just making a lot of the little plays. You can tell, obviously, he's been there before on deep playoff runs. He was on, obviously, the championship team in 2019. So he's just making out there making plays. The game wise, I do think if I'm them, I think game 3 Saturday. The way the scheduling is, I think there's like 2 games or something in between. I believe he might not play game 2, which since they got the win today, which is pivotal, they have the opportunity to rest him up, get that ankle fully fine for game 3 for him to at least be 85+%. So if they do sit him out game 2, it makes sense. If not, Jimmy's a warrior, so he might go anyway. But the role players for the Heat and how well coached they are, discipline-wise, it's just you just see it all over the place. And that's Pat Riley, that's Eric Spoelstra, that's Heat culture. That's what we do. Anyways, Gabe Vincent is shooting great. He plays confident. Max Strus is really streaky, but Max Strus, he's either going to have a big game or sometimes he's just off. But whatever. Bam for this series needs to be active and aggressive. There were a few times down the stretch where he's actually he had a nice one dribble spin move left sky hook and or little baby hook in the post towards the end of the game, and those are the moves I would like to see from him more, just because he has the capabilities of doing those things. He's just passive, it feels at times. But overall, I like that series a lot. It's gonna be 6, if not 7. It's going to be 1994. It's going to be 1999. It's going to be kind of like probably their series in 99 that went 1 versus 8. But it's going to be nice, and I really liked Game 1. It was a fun series.
Yeah, to answer what you said about Jimmy Butler with the injury today, I could completely see a scenario like you're talking about where he sits Game 2, comes back Game 3 on Saturday, if that's in fact how the schedule is. And like you said, I could also see him playing Game 2. But if he were to sit Game 2, it wouldn't be like they're given the game. They wouldn't mind if they lost, but I could completely see, for whatever reason, the Heat somehow winning that game and going up 2-0 without Jimmy Butler, then, going home on Saturday to Miami with a 2-0 lead with Jimmy Butler coming back. And who knows, maybe they could rest him in Game 3 if that happened. I would not be surprised just how this postseason is going. Just the luck the Heat are getting. And I'm not saying this ain't all skill, because it is, but, some of this stuff is, you're like, how the fuck does this happen? Like today, Jimmy Butler, you're like, okay, he's either coming out or, like I said, they're either going to put him in switches and make it tough on him. Nope. They win by double digits today, I believe, or 8 points, something like that.
They switched it one time, and then they ran.
Yep.
They switched. He was on. I believe it was on Jalen Brunson or R.J. Barrett, and he was guarding him. And instead of going at him, they set a screen which switched Kyle Lowry onto him, and then Kyle Lowry had the strip. I believe it was on Brunson.
Yeah.
And I was like, why are we setting a screen to get Jimmy Butler off of the defender?
No sense.
It was like a little rub screen, but it was enough where they was able to switch. And I was like, what are you
Makes
doing?
no sense.
Attack him. And then we saw him shoot one shot in the corner. It was way short because he has no lift. He was shooting on one leg. So, in offense, the Heat did a great job of even keeping him out there, but being able to still run a competent offense, which is great. I also would have doubled off of him quite often if I could have, late in the shot clock, and made him make mid contested threes.
It's so weird.
See how his foot is.
I swear, teams like this.
That's me.
I swear in the playoffs we see it over and over where, let's say Steph Curry, right? They'll try to switch on to Steph Curry and they'll attack Steph Curry because he might be the weakest defender on the court at that time. But we don't see it whenever there's someone with a hand injury. You don't run him into screens. It really does seem like the NBA, some teams, not all teams, but I feel like this has come up before in past series, in past years, where a player gets injured, whether it's an injured ankle, knee, they're clearly hampered and they just don't attack him. And it's like, all right, you'll attack Trae Young when he's on the floor, when he's fully healthy. Why wouldn't you attack a 70% Jimmy Butler today, or even 60%, whatever he was? Feel like we see that time and time again and don't see the results we should. I do think this is going to be at least a 6-game series. I think it's going to be hella physical, obviously. I keep going back to what I said the other day when we recorded after the Bucks game. The Miami Heat just remind me so much of the fucking New England Patriots. So damn much. If you told me Spoelstra went to the school of Belichick, I'd believe it. Because no matter who you throw in there, they're just going to play smart basketball. They're going to bleed out the clock. They're going to try to get open threes. Basketball can be a simple game. Defend as best you can, play hard, find the open man, get an easy shot. That's what they try to do. If you want to keep it in basketball, it's like the Spurs of 10 years ago. Put whoever you want around Tim Duncan. We're going to get a good shot. We're going to play hard defense. We're going to be smart with the ball. That's the Heat now. And it's fun to watch. They're hard not to root for, like Kamden said.
Yeah. The opposite of the Grizzlies.
Yeah, the Grizzlies.
It is easy to
Hey, like I told...
They just they say too much, they do too much, but they use easy
What
to
did I say when Josh said, I'm good in the West? I'm like, some sort of karma is going to happen for that. The basketball gods will come back for that. And sure enough, you get blown out by 40 in an elimination game. I love Ja to death, but man, got to have respect for, champions of the past.
You mean the team that beat you last year, the team that obviously ended up beating them this year, the arguably one of the greatest ever, like two of the greatest ever, not even arguable, my bad. Like, yes, you're going to respect them. You have a two-time MVP, the reigning two-time MVP until we hear from in Jokic. You've got, at the time you didn't, but now you have Kevin Durant. Like, there's so much.
Isn't that what brought it up?
Yeah.
Kawhi and Paul George. I'm not even mentioning
That's what brought it up, too, was
like,
the Kevin Durant move,
teams,
right?
Even like the Timberwolves.
I think that was the question that brought it up, too.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm worried about Kevin Durant, Jordan Devin Booker, and Chris Paul and AD.
The Kings, I didn't even get...
You didn't yet.
I'm good in the West. Ja, you're not top. You might not be top 5 in the West as a player. Like you can make that argument. Like you're right there at 4 or 5. I'm good in the West. What you and Dylan Brooks? Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
But I don't know if you guys had any other points on that, or if you wanted to jump right into Denver Phoenix, which happened last night, which was. I have one takeaway from that game and one takeaway only, unless you guys had another point.
What's your takeaway?
We can go to that game. Yep.
My one takeaway is that, I don't know, Phoenix, we don't believe you, we need more people, quote unquote. I just don't know if they have, I don't know if they have enough.
That's been my worry since the start.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought going in, I had them in the conference finals. I had them losing to the Warriors postseason prediction because I thought the Warriors' depth was going to be able to. This might be 6 for Denver. Honestly, if Denver won in 5, it would not shock me.
Yep.
And it's just because you have Kevin Durant, cool. You have Devin Booker, cool. After that, obviously you have DeAndre Ayton, but he's good. He's not great. You have Chris Paul, great floor general at this point, great mind.
Seems afraid to shoot.
His body and his mind are in 2 separate spots. Yes, his body and his mind are in 2 separate spots. I feel like he feels almost like he doesn't know his place on the offense, which is a weird spot for him. Because obviously it's Kevin Durant, it's Devin Booker. And so you're still trying to work out the kinks. They've really only played 15 games together. So you're still working things out. That'd be 1/5 of a season. And then you have Josh Okogie and Torrey Craig, and then Cam Payne.
Like I said,
Bismack Biyombo.
Bismack. Oh, my bad. Let me not forget about rest in peace Bismarcky. And then Denver Aaron Gordon played great last night. You've got, obviously, Jokic. Jamal Murray's getting back into playoff Murray form, which is great for them. Michael Porter Jr. has been playing well. As I said, Aaron Gordon. You've got Bruce Brown. You've got they're just deep. They're well coached. They're talented, and they have the best home court in the league just because of the altitude and literally the difference of playing there. So this series may be 5.
It might be.
I had the Suns before, but I'll give the Suns 2 out of respect for Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, but I don't honestly see how Denver loses.
Yeah.
I don't see how Denver loses the series anymore.
Yeah. If I'll go next, I was same boat as you. No depth in that Phoenix team, and I don't think you can win with two guys predominantly doing it. The other thing I noticed in that game, that was huge, for me was the Denver Nuggets had 16 threes, whereas I think Phoenix had like less than 10, no doubt. Like they don't have the 3-point
You can
shooting
clog it up on them.
that
There, there was a point in the second, or like late second, early third, where the Suns were 2 of 2 from the 3-point line.
yeah, it's
And I was like, that's fine. Like, obviously, you don't have to throw up 45 threes a game to be a team, but like, you're not going to space the floor. You have 3 of the best, like, of our generation mid-range jump shooters.
yep.
And that's all they're doing is just getting good twos.
Their shots, their twos, yes.
They're
Which
just
is
getting good twos, which is cool, but
it's just
good twos.
yeah, they're just not spreading themselves out. Like Durant had a good game. He had 29. I think he shot well over 50%. I think Booker also shot over 50%, but it's all twos. And it's fine, but when you have somebody like Jamal Murray making 6 threes, when you have players on their team that are able to go 3 for 4 for 3 or 3 for 8 or whatever, that's going to put the distance in between you guys, especially when it goes to bench playing and those players are making some threes as well. So I think that's the other thing. Besides depth, they don't really have shooters surrounding these guys to make it have any spacing at all. So yeah, it's going to be a super interesting series, but I can't see Phoenix pulling this one out. I can see Booker having a huge game where he goes for 50 maybe himself and they win. But that's what they need. They need those huge games from their big guys to even have a chance to win. So, yeah, it's going to be tough.
And right before you go, Kyle, I'll let you go off. They went 7 of 23 from the 3-point line. No person made more than 1 3.
That's crazy.
That's
don't see
1.
that.
And 2, they also went 14 of 17 from – you don't see that. They went 14 to 17 from the free throw line, so that's 82%. That's really good. And they shot over 50% from the floor.
Yeah.
How are they, like, other than a Durant or a Booker explosion, how are they supposed to play better?
Better
They
than
don't
that,
shoot
yep.
threes well. So, and Denver's just too good for offensively, too. But, Kyle, you can go on with your feelings on the series.
I mean, this is exactly what I thought would happen. Maybe not so much the lack of shooting for Phoenix, but as far as the depth goes, Denver has a true home court advantage, too, with the altitude. So they have that going for them. Came out with a ton of energy.
Absolutely.
And, you know, if you're not shooting that well or you don't have shooting lineups and you can get up 10, 15 on them, yeah, you can kind of sag off everybody and put all your attention to Durant and Booker. And once you got that going, it's hard because neither one of them are slashers. KD's certainly not at his athletic peak. Obviously, he can still get to the rim, but you can kind of bog it down on him in a way that you wouldn't be able to if it is a close game, you know? I mean, which you still can and force those guys to shoot, but you're going to have more confidence, you know, when you're not down 15. I'm surprised by the amount they won by, but I'm not surprised by the win. I think they go up 2-0, and then I think Phoenix kind of makes it a series back at home. But if not, yeah, they could easily get out of here in 5. Like, I truly believe if Clippers have one of Kawhi or Paul George in that series, it at least goes 7. Maybe Phoenix pulls it out, but I think it at least goes 7.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This feels very much
Absolutely.
2011 Heat-ish, the Suns do, by being 5 or 6 deep. So, yeah, I mean, luckily with Chris Paul, with Ayton, the way their team is, they're really built like a classic NBA team, point guard, 2 guard, 3, a true 4, a 5. You know, they can kind of balance it out on offense, but that's the thing. You're not at your best if you're running it through Chris Paul. You know, you don't want Devin Booker and KD just spotting up, but that almost is where they're at their best. So it's kind of a conundrum for them, and I really do wonder what's the case with them going forward, like with Chris Paul. Will they trade him in the offseason? They could obviously win the series, who knows, but I do think that's going to be an increasing problem going forward, especially as he ages. He's already 37.
That contract's kind of heavy. I don't know if
hard
anyone's
to move
quality
him.
too.
It's hard to move Chris Paul, dude.
All that money.
As
yeah.
his contract is heavy. No,
It's
he's
similar to Russell Westbrook's contract. So Westbrook moves, but it's still, I don't know. His contract is heavy.
Yeah, he's due. Like Chris Paul, I believe, is due 30, almost 31,000 next year, and then 31,000 a year after that. So
$1
I think
million.
you mean
sorry,
million.
31 million rather. 31 million, 31 million.
Chris
and
Paul's
31
playing for
million.
31,000.
So that's for expire. Yeah, he's paying for a paraprofessional or substitute teacher salary. But yeah, he's that's tough to swing, especially when you have an expiring player. You have to have the right team for him, and he has to be in the right situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and also, is he open to coming off the bench next year? Because I could see that being
that's what they need. They've needed a backup point guard
to
since
do
their
business.
finals run, and they never addressed it. They kept campaigning. Might as well demote Chris Paul and go get someone else.
Never did.
Do want to give the Nuggets some credit?
Yeah, if he's fine with that, then oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, most definitely. But I do want to give the Nuggets some credit. I mean, we saw last night their offense is just hyper efficient. It doesn't matter if they want an ISO. You got Jamal Murray. If you want a shot at the basket, you can just post Jokic up 1-for-1. And if you want any other sort of look, you're going to get a clean look if you just run that offense or run a play for him. Jokic or Murray is going to be able to find someone, whether it's MPJ, Brown, or Gordon on the cut. Mm-hmm. They can get anything they want at any single time. So they're going to be dangerous. I don't love them on defense, but as we saw last night, depending on the matchup, they can get stops. Caldwell Pope, too. He's not a bad defender at all. He's a plus defender. So they're... Mm-hmm. It's going to take a lot to get them out of there for Phoenix. And I really do like the Nuggets' chances of being in the conference finals. Still. Let me ask y'all, though.
Yep, their team's stacked.
And we've kind of answered this, but let me ask you just to get it on record now. Give me the Phoenix and Nuggets, what you guys think the series prognosis is going to be. And then we'll do Heat Knicks after. Seems how those two series have started.
I'm going Nuggets in 6.
I echo that. Nuggets in 6.
Yep, and I'm similar. I think I'll go Nuggets in 5. I really don't know. Yeah, I don't know if Phoenix can pull off more than one.
What about Heat Knicks? What y'all got for Heat Knicks?
I've got Heat in 6. If it went 7, it's not shocking, but I got Heat in 6.
Yep, I think I'm going 7 on this one, and I'm going New York. I think it's time, dude. It's time for New York to. It's time for New York to get themselves to the Eastern Conference Finals and show Madison Square Garden's different, man. So Game 7 in Madison Square, I think, would be an awesome game, and I'm hoping for Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle to be legit. So, yep.
I'm having a tough time picking between 6 or 7. My gut's telling me 6, and I think it's Miami. Similar to Warriors and Kings. I mean, the Knicks do have postseason experience, but I think the Heat, between Spoelstra, between Jimmy, and the rest of the crew, I think they got more big games under their belt. And they just won't die. They won't die. Like, Butler could come out hobbling still on Tuesday night, just like how he was today, and he could still put 35 on you.
Look like Buzz Reed.
Looking like who knows who, but like they just won't die. But yeah, I'm gonna pick the Heat to go to the conference finals. I'll say in 7. I'm hoping for a 7th game. Renew the Miami and Knicks rivalry. I'm hoping for 7, but in my heart, I think it's 6. So 6.5. I got the Heat in.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's fair. And like I'm back and forth because Jimmy Butler's legitimately that type of dude that he can take over any series. He's the guy. I saw this post the other day of like how it said like Jason Tatum wants to be like Kobe. Other new players want to be like Kobe. The only one who's really got that dog in him is Jimmy
100%.
Butler. The only guy that's even got that slight little dog of dominating. So I'm not surprised if Miami wins it. I really not this series at all.
I like that Jimmy Kobe comparison. That's apropos for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so let's move down the East. Philly and Boston, that starts tomorrow. How are you guys feeling on that series?
Go ahead, Cam.
I'll go. Yeah. Boston's my team, dude, and I love them, but that should not have taken 2 games against the Hawks, and it made me upset. They could have swept the Hawks, and that's how it should have went. 1 game is fine. I am worried about this because I think that the Sixers have Embiid, who's hurt. So that's my one saving grace for
Yeah.
the Celtics. Embiid's injured. But Harden's a good enough player to facilitate that basketball in a way that I think is legit. I don't know what he'll do in the playoffs, though, to be honest. It's tricky. But for my aspect of Boston, I need Jason Tatum to be that man, and he hasn't shown me that yet in this playoffs yet, and it's frustrating. Sometimes he's just awful from the field, and I don't get it. So I need him. If he plays the way I want him to play, they got this one in 6. And then the other tricky thing is these point guards for the Celtics, between Smart, Brogdon, and White. I think it's so hard to give them all the minutes that they need. And I really wish that Missoula would. This might be a hot take. I don't know if it is. I wish he would run with White and Brogdon more than he would go with Smart. And I hope he does that this series in some ways. Even though Smart's the defender, out of them in a lot of ways, I think Derek White is a really great defender and is this year just as good as Smart in terms of defense and is a better player in terms of offense right now. So I hope if Missoula makes the right calls, which has been another thing that's been ticking me off, is I don't love Missoula as a coach right now. But if he makes the right calls and does it, I think that Boston, I think they win tomorrow back at home at TD Garden for Game 1. And I think they can pull it off in 6. I think they got this one in 6.
Okay.
I agree
Kyle,
with much of Cam's sentiments. I'm very worried about Joe Mazzulla. He's if it's possible to be a streaky coach, he's that. I don't worry about him in the way like Bucks fans might worry about Coach Bud. But like, let me give you, for instance, the way, like Cam said, it should not have taken 6 games. Grant Williams was shelved for much of that series, and then he played him more towards the end of the series. I get it, maybe for matchups, he's not exactly a wing, and Atlanta's got a lot of wings, a lot of speed. I get that. But Grant Williams has been in a lot of these playoff games, and a lot of big games in his short career. That's a guy you just want on the court to kind of float around, especially to back up Al. Him and Al play very similar. Al Horford's more of a better spot-up shooter.
Yeah.
As far as even from the mid-range, he's got the mid-range and the 3. Grant Williams really just a 3 and sometimes a layup kind of guy. But that's a guy you want playing, moving the ball. He's a very smart passer. You saw him out there in crunch time of the clinching game, and you saw how well it moved. And that's the thing with Boston. That game was kind of getting hairy, Game 6 in Atlanta. Atlanta kind of had it there for the taking, and finally Boston was just like, nah. And for the last 3 minutes, they got wide open shot after forcing a turnover or forcing Trey into a bad shot. So there's a team in there somewhere, excuse me, goddamn, who can get to the finals, who can make it easy for themselves with all the versatility they have. They're such a deep team. But like he said with Jason Tatum, he's supposed to be the leader of this team. And, you know, this is why I always say he's kind of in a class by himself where he might be above a LeBron James on a nightly basis during the regular season, right? But I can't put him in the Luka category, even though he's a better two-way player, because you will never see Luka go 1 for 10 from 3 with, 19 points. You just won't see that. And if you do, you're going to see probably, 13 assists, some boards in there too, which Tatum does do. He does impact the game in other ways, especially with his defense. But, man, he'll just have these nights where he cannot shoot the ball at all. And, there's often nights I think Jaylen Brown's the better player than him. Not to make it a his team versus his team kind of thing, but
even in that Game 6.
Yeah, for sure. And Tatum can kind of just play with his food, as Mark Jones says, quite a bit. He'll shake it up, sauce it up, toss up a contested 3, and then, it's good when they're falling, but when they're not, the Celtics are not at their best. They're best when they're moving the ball, playing fast, which is why I think they're going to get Philly out of here in the long run because of their athleticism. I don't think Harden's going to be able to handle a mix of their guards and their wings. Just that five-sum of Smart, Brogdon, White, Jalen, and Jason, incredible on defense. They can switch on to anything. I completely agree with you, Cam. Marcus Smart's got to be the odd man out there. They should run Brogdon and White in crunch time more. But I think ultimately they get Philly out of there in 6. I agree. 6 games. Should be 7. Philly's got enough, but I don't know. And B just seems unlucky. He doesn't perform well in the postseason, low-key. But, I am hoping he has a better run. Not too good, obviously, with the Celtics, but I do hope for his sake he can perform a little bit better. Because, man, it's ugly for him in these postseasons.
So, I kind of agree with both of you in the sense of I have Boston in 6. If it went 7, it doesn't shock me either here too. But
they've got enough pieces.
My concerns with Boston are they do for sure. My concern with Boston is they're mimicking some of the faults that they had last year against the Warriors, where closing games seems to sometimes be a struggle because they almost get lax with the ball.
150%.
They almost get lax with their intensity. So when they're locked in, if you told me you were going to get 100% locked in Boston, you would not guarantee a championship, but you would definitely almost guarantee the final.
They'd be the toughest out.
They're going to give whomever. Absolutely, they would be the toughest out, 100% for sure. So they just. You would have thought from last year the reason why they lost against the Warriors was late game execution, Tatum not taking that Tatum not ready to take that next step as you guys both kind of articulated there too, and they're turning over the ball. They could get careless with the ball. Case. And it seems like they've rectified. As I said, it seems like they've rectified none of that. Yeah. None of that has been rectified. Jason Tatum, I think, has improved a little bit as a player because he's a little bit better all around. But still, at times, as you guys have said, you kind of he can impact the game, but it still doesn't feel. There's just something about it that he just feels like he's disconnected from the game a little bit at times, and then which is why you question. Okay, is Jaylen Brown sometimes the better player? Just to take sometimes Clay will have it more than Steph, but you never question if Steph's the best player or not. Or say Harden and Embiid, if you want to say. Or the only team you really have that with is Anthony Davis and LeBron, and that's because Anthony Davis at this point really should be better than LeBron, but he's just so inconsistent at times that he's not, in my opinion. But that's the only team where the second player is really arguably better than the first, and Tatum just seems to kind of bounce between that at times. So that's the thing that concerns me with Boston moving forward. That's where Philly could take advantage. I think Embiid's going to eat this series, but I don't have any faith, and I mean any faith, in James Harden. So that is a prove it to me when I see it. Yeah. But I have had zero faith for a minute, and I'm going to continue to have zero faith in James Harden. And if he comes through and balls out and they win, I will be the first to be like, hey, Harden came to play and Harden deserves all the credit. But I'm going to wait until I see it. So I got Boston in 6. But moving forward, they should be really happy that Milwaukee's got knocked out.
True. I got a couple points I want to add before we move on to the Lakers and Warriors. I do think I think the Celtics miss Ime Udoka in that regard of the late game execution.
They do. And they do so much.
Because Udoka, he replaced Brad Stevens. Brad was incredible on offense. You could put us 3 out there with Brad, and he's going to find a way for the Celtics to still score points. You know what I mean?
For us to score.
100%. Yeah. And Ime, while I don't think he got inventive on offense, he definitely made them tougher on defense, eliminated a lot of, at least during the regular season, the late game comebacks. We eliminated a lot of that in the second half of last year. And we saw it rear its ugly head in the finals, sure, and even against the Heat, sure. They're still a young team, but they're really older than their age, their real ages, because of how many big playoff games this team's been in. So for them to still be going through this and then, not having Ime this year, another full season, if they had Ime, they would be almost a shoo-in to make the conference final, the NBA finals, even with the Bucks, especially after what we saw with the Bucks. But Missoula is just so questionable. I could see a world where, you know what? It'll probably go to 7. If they gave 2 to Atlanta, why wouldn't this go to 7? The only thing that's saving them is they are such a bad matchup historically.
That's huge, right?
They're such a historically bad matchup for Philly across the years. And like Keenan said with Harden, if Harden was like, if we saw Harden be like balling out each game last series, which he didn't really need to, I get that, including the end of the season, because he was playing very well before he got injured. We just don't know. And he might be back to 100%. We just don't know, and we don't see it. And he's more than happy to take a game off if he doesn't need to play. You know what I mean? He'll let Maxey kind of take over, which is good, but you can't judge a series off that when Harden is more than happy to do that. On top of his postseason history where in a big game he'll do that when he's the focal point. He'll say, nah, you guys got it. So you can't pick Harden and the Sixers based off that. I hope Embiid does well, but Boston's been a bad matchup for him. Horford and Grant Williams have been a bad matchup for him. As crazy as that is to say. I think they rectify that, and I think Maxey has a great series. After that, I'm not sure for Philly. So,
Yep.
This could be a series big for Tobias Harris if he can actually come to, but he's up and down there too. So
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't. There's a way Philly can win, but there's a way Philly can win. It just includes a lot of ifs. With Boston, it's just
simple
will
stuff.
they
Protect the ball.
rather
It's
than
willing,
if. It's just like will they yeah. So it's basically like will they protect the ball? I mean, I guess you could say that's an if. It's just like will they protect the ball and
will they hold
will they lose
leads?
focus?
Stuff like
if
that.
they don't do either, they'll win.
Yep.
That's pretty much
It
what
would
it comes
take
down to.
Philly carving up.
Really just mental things rather than physical
I agree with that.
things.
If there's a way for Philly to carve up Boston's defense, that'd be the way to do it. But their defense is just too versatile. Rob Williams is starting to play very well for them, more consistent. I would assume he gets a lot more run in this series. Now, if he gets injured and you're really just down to Horford and Grant as your bigs, you know, I wouldn't assume they go to Cornet or guys like that.
Yeah.
Then, you know, that's really the pathway is to hope that Rob Williams gets injured, I guess, which is a high chance, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
But it's going to be tough for Philly. They can do it. Will they?
Sure.
We all doubt
The
it.
thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Highly.
The thing that I'm worried about with the Celtics is them going into halftime with a 20-point lead, and then they go
Yeah,
lax, because that's what they
do.
do. They go in with an awesome first half, and then they're lax and just chilling in the third, and then all you know is the other team's up by one. And that wouldn't surprise me. And I loved your point, Kyle, about Ime. They respected that dude, and he got the best out of them when he could all year, except for in the finals, which it was their first finals together. Sure, that's a lot of things going on. I'm a person that's very frustrated that they took the interim tag off of Missoula, and I wish Ime was still here. I have no idea what even happened with that situation. Still, I need to know answers, but that's okay. Yeah.
Hey, real quick on that point, imagine if they just played it out because they took off the interim tag, I believe, right at the All-Star break. Imagine if they just played out the season. I get why they did that because it's successful. Like, there's too much talent on this team not to be good, you know? But if they just played it out, look how everything fell. Nick Nurse is a free agent. There's a world where they go to the playoffs with Missoula, and if he wins it all, go ahead, bring him back. But, you know, if you get to the conference finals, lose in the 7th game, and you're not feeling 100%, you got Nick Nurse or someone like that waiting in the wings. So someone's going to get a great coach in Nick Nurse. It's going to change their fortunes.
And no one blinks at it.
Nobody does.
No one blinks at it because essentially if they lost in any other round other than the finals, they did worse than they did the year before, which would be, you could say, okay, the Ime's not there, that's why they did worse. Or if they lost in the finals, it'd be like they did the same exact thing.
Yep.
So you could, unless they won it all, and if they did, then cool, Missoula, cool. But if not, you could get rid of him and just be like, okay, obviously we were in a coaching change and the talent on this team still got us to a conference finals or still got us to a championship, and then you go get someone like Nick Nurse. There's other good coaches out there as well, but we'll see. But we can move on to this Lakers-Warriors.
It is funny, though, that
television bonanza. But
it's funny that, and we could say this about the West, too, because, you know, Denver would, I guess, be the favorite, being the 1 seed, right?
Yeah.
So it's funny that the Celtics are definitely the best bet to come out of the East, and none of us feel great about it. And really, across the whole entire postseason, you could say that about any team. Every team just has such glaring flaws that who knows? Like, Miami winning it all isn't that far out of the realm right now. But, yeah, let's go to Lakers-Warriors. I'm excited to talk about this series.
Yes. Kamden, you start off. How do you feel?
It's awesome that it's a 6 and 7 seed.
Yeah.
It's awesome that it's LeBron versus Steph again. Like, what better matchup than this?
On fair terms, without Kevin Durant. These teams are pretty equal.
This is what we wanted to see.
Can't wait.
It's tough because the Lakers got better at the trade, and these players are playing well. Vanderbilt's a defender, and he's doing well. Russell, low-key's got that, like, Brooklyn D'Angelo Russell kind of guy where he could go out and get you a bucket. And I am excited to see these things go through. The Warriors, it's Steph Curry. Steph Curry's one of the best players on the planet still, and he makes any team that he would ever be on be great. They got role players on that team. Kevon Looney's going to have to do what he did that last series again and figure out what's going to go on with that Davis stuff, and how Anthony Davis plays is going to be huge. I am excited to see LeBron in action in this, and dude, Austin Reeves is kind of unreal. I don't know where that man came from. He's just a good player. He's fun to watch. He's fun to watch, dude. Yep, he is. So I think that this matchup's going to be unreal. I feel like this one has to go 7. It has to go 7, right? In my mind. Yeah. And Keenan, you know what that means? It's who going in Game 7?
It's Bron going.
That's Bron going in
I
Game
just saw
7.
Steph go. I just saw Steph put up 50 though.
It's true. It's true. But I think that the thing is tough is this. This is, in my opinion, the Warriors' last dance as their big three together. Like, it's if they don't win, something's happening in the Warriors' place where people are moving. So they really need this. But LeBron, on the other hand, also has a legacy that he wants to uphold, because if Steph wins a championship this year, there's a conversation. There's a conversation about Steph and LeBron. And LeBron doesn't want that. So he's going to do what he has to do. And I think that's a Game 7 win. Hopefully Anthony Davis shows up. I want to see Anthony Davis get monster numbers in this series, and I think he can against this team. If they can keep up with the Warriors shooting, which is going to be tough for them, defensively, if they can lock down the Warriors shooting and keep Clay, like, heat checking that man, don't let him go off. Make sure Poole doesn't go off on you guys, because he's streaky, but if he goes off, you're done. Like, there's a lot of those things that are going to be happening where they have to make sure they're doing their best. But all in all, I do think that the Lakers get it in 7.
Okay.
I do.
All right.
Lakers in 7.
Keen, now,
I know, bold take.
Keen, I want to hear what you have to say about this.
Okay, so I think this series is good and bad for both teams. Anthony Davis is, I mean, obviously he's like, he can be the best player on the floor on any night, but he to me is an X factor. Like, what Anthony Davis are you going to get? You saw how they neutralized Sabonis. Not that Anthony Davis and Sabonis are in the same class, but obviously bigs that are a little that versatile. You saw how they neutralized him, but they're not going to back off on Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis can obviously hit every mid-range jump shot that he needs to hit. So they're going to actually have to play him straight up. So that's going to be interesting to see what their defense is there. Yeah. Looney, even though he's a great offensive rebounder, he is a little smaller. Draymond's obviously smaller. Wiggins is going to be your third. They don't really have any big depth after that. You're really going to go with Jonathan Kuminga, too. He's still smaller, even though he's an athlete. So Anthony Davis really should eat. LeBron's going to control pace. So he's gonna do what LeBron does. I'm not concerned about that at all. But I think that this is a series where Steph should eat like more than he did last series, because I mean last series you had De'Aaron Fox, a very good defender. You had Davion Mitchell, good defender, big body. You had Terrence Davis, who started to play on him towards the end of the series. good defender as well. They had people who they could throw at him. You have Dennis Schroeder, and then Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell. Like, LeBron's obviously not chasing him around at all. So I think Steph should just eat this series, and I think that's going to be the difference. I have them in 7. This is going to be, for the Warriors, I think the X factor is Jordan Poole. Last series, because of how great the Kings guards are at scoring with Fox, with Monk, and how physical and athletic they are, Poole was almost kind of not useless at times, but he was a liability on the floor, because offensively, when he's not rolling, defensively, he really is a liability. So you tend to go with DiVincenzo. You're going to go with Gary Payton. You're going to go. You're going to take him off the floor because you need that defensive presence. Now with Austin Reeves, obviously Austin Reeves can score. Don't get me wrong. D'Angelo Russell can score. Don't get me wrong. But defensively, they're not going to pose the same kind of presence that the Kings
Especially
guards
D'Angelo.
will. So he should be able to.
Yep.
Especially D'Angelo. So he should be able to get his shot off more. And obviously with your main presence being Steph, Jordan Poole should be able to definitely get his looks more. You should see a couple more 20-point, maybe even like he did Denver last year, first round, get a couple 30-point games out there. So I think that's going to be the difference. I have Warriors in 7, which is tough because betting against LeBron in 7 is something I don't like. He's 7-1 in his 8 games, and his one loss was to Boston when he put up 47. Paul Pierce just happened to match him. So it's really hard to go against him, but I think for the first time, Steph hops on the floor with LeBron, and he's the best player on the floor. And I think that's going to reign a little bit true here. And they get in 7.
I have many thoughts about this series. Let me start by saying everything that happens over the next 2 weeks in my life will be based around this series.
Television bonanza.
Will be based around this series. My whole entire day.
fair, right?
We're basically, I'm not kidding, like, we're getting basically an NBA Finals matchup in the second round. And you can even say that about Denver and Phoenix, but with Steph and LeBron, you just do not
Yes, we are.
get that amount of superstardom, a Hall of Fame matchup in the second round. I can't wait. I can't wait. Let me just get this out of the way before I get to my true thoughts about this series. Let's just preface it and say LeBron's playing on a bad foot. He could get injured. Anthony Davis, we see him every game. He gets fucking hit and he starts wincing. He could get injured. So this very well could be taken out from us. I hope that doesn't happen, but I just want to get it out in the air. Just to get it out there. Now, once it was clear that the Warriors were going to win this game, one of the first thoughts that I had with this LeBron-Steph rivalry, we've seen them play in games. We've seen them in finals games, obviously. And as Keenan said, no Durant. So we really finally get to see them for the first time since 2016 at a square level, at an even level. One thing that stuck out to me was when LeBron first came in the league, we thought, and shit, y'all was real young, so I don't know if y'all remember this, but we really thought it was going to be LeBron and Melo for the next 15 years, right? And then...
Oh yeah, no, I do remember.
I remember that too.
Melo was hit. Melo was the guy.
Yeah, well, Melo,
he won one and done, obviously, but he won the national championship.
Melo would have been number 2 had it not been for the hype around Darko and the mystique around Darko, right? And then some years pass.
Yep.
Wade gets a championship, and it turns to LeBron versus Wade, right? Then it seems like it's going to be LeBron versus Kobe. LeBron never breaks through, and then of course LeBron joins Dwayne Wade. Then it looks like it's going to be LeBron versus Durant. Durant blows that up by going to the Warriors, and it's really been his main rival, ended up being Steph Curry. And here we really go to cement it. Bron got lucky, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. Bron got lucky that they made those. Actually, I'm not even going to say luck. All right? Who's the Rob Pelinka? He made great moves at the deadline to get them where they are, because that team became a whole lot more exciting and playable around LeBron as soon as they made those moves. So I don't want... So let me not call that luck at all. They did their thing in the play-in. They get the Grizzlies. That's the lucky part, I guess. That was a good matchup for them, a favorable matchup for them. And here we are, because if you told me 6 months ago, will LeBron even get another finals appearance? I would have said no. And here is his best chance, probably before the end of his career, depending on how this ends, of course.
Yeah.
I'm just fascinated by that. I think we're going to get extra hungry LeBron. I do think if it gets out of hand, he's going to do what he did in the Memphis series and just kind of lay back and wait for the next game, given his injury. But I'm right on board with Keenan, man. I think this is the best Steph we've ever seen. And we kind of debated this a few weeks ago. And I said Steph might be better in 2016. He's not as well-rounded. Like, every single time he goes to the rim, I think it's going in. Like it's Dwayne Wade going to the basket or something. I think and I know he's finishing at the rim this season and last year. He might not be as explosive.
He's the same level shooter. He's stronger.
And the only difference is people know how much of a...
this is the best stuff.
100%. And the only difference between 2016, besides like the body strength and, you know, everything else being well-rounded, he was more explosive, but those open looks or those one-on-one threes he could get after shaking you, he just doesn't get it anymore. Once he gets into his dribble progression, they're sending a second guy, so he's got to give it up. So the degree of difficulty he's playing with, like for him to get 50, a lot of the looks he was getting were either layups or tough shots. Seems like every three he takes that's not a spot up is a tough three, and he continues to put up the same percentages year after year after year. He's phenomenal. I think I mentioned this. I just want to say it one more time, but he hit a shot in game one of this series. That was one of the greatest threes I've ever seen. He caught it down by his fucking left ankle, had a guy closing out on him. He's in the deep corner, and he shoots a moon ball like over the fucking shot clock and nets it. And, of course, it gets lost in the series because the Kings won. But that's one of the best shots I've ever seen anywhere. I don't care. I'm rolling with Keenan, though. I got the Warriors in 7. I think Steph, for my money right now, is officially the best player on the planet. He showed it today. I would put money on the Warriors for anybody to win the ring. They just have that look now. I got Warriors in 7. But I do think, I don't know. It's still Bron. It's still AD. LeBron's he's gonna bring it. He's gonna have something extra special for Steph. I do think that Steph just seems to bring the best out of him.
Listen, this is, as you said, there was supposed to be LeBron and Melo. Then LeBron and Wade became a thing for a little bit, but they teamed up. Then LeBron and Kobe was a thing, and then LeBron Durant, and now it's LeBron and Steph. And as we've said, LeBron, people argue, is the greatest player of all time. He's 2, 3, wherever you have him. He's above Steph in the rank of greatest players of all time. Cool. Since the 2010s, obviously, when they've both been playing, it's the championships obviously are the same. LeBron has 10 appearances to Curry, or technically 9 because he had one in the 2000s, to Curry's 6. 2 MVPs to 2 MVPs. Like, they're literally neck and neck since the 2010s, really, when Steph became, like, in the NBA. So, and if Steph gets to 5,
like
as you said, if Steph gets to 5, there's a conversation as to if LeBron was the best player, cool, but whose league was it? Like, it was LeBron's league, but then, like, Steph got on LeBron's watch, per se.
Yeah.
And I know some of them came with Durant too, but LeBron got a super team as well, not as stacked, but they still got a super team. They took 2 off of there. He got 2 with the Lakers. Steph has his 2 other ones, so it's like it really becomes more of a conversation than some people will give it credit for, just because LeBron's obviously on both ends of the floor. He's had such greatness throughout, but the greatness of Steph, he's just really showing that even at age 35 still, which is older for a player, that he's still this great and this amazing. So I can't wait. The spectacle. This is what I want. Like the spectacle of Lakers and Warriors, LeBron and Steph one last time when they're both at Steph at the peak of his powers, LeBron 85% the peak of his powers, and he can summon 98% the peak of his powers in like a game. So it's going to be great. I cannot wait for this series. This is the series that I'm looking forward to.
These teams are so differently constructed in some ways. Like the Lakers don't have a lot of shooters. They got bigs. Like Rui Hachimura comes in. He's going to come in there and he's going to do things. He might shoot it, but he's a big dude.
Jared Vanderbilt.
It's a different setup. They want to body people. They want to play. They're not going to play like Sacramento did. But on the flip side, the Lakers would have struggled with Sacramento immensely. I don't know if they would have beat. It's tough. If they had Sacramento first instead of Memphis, that's a tough.
And I don't know if Golden State gets by Memphis. They've always given Memphis problems. Memphis always given them problems.
So it's going to be a super fun series. I can't wait to see LeBron and Steph do what they do. I hope everybody plays
Two
the best.
Akron kids.
I hope everybody plays the best to their ability. I hope Clay's going. I hope AD's going. I want to see it all. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, one more thing to add about these two teams.
Yes.
It's easy to root against LeBron, especially in his Lakers era. But I've really enjoyed this Lakers team since the trades. They all play well together. Austin Reeves somehow became their number 3 option, and looks dependable. Looks the part, plays the part. Is not afraid at all. I do think, like Kamden said, they obviously improved on their shooting, but I don't think they have enough for the Warriors. And, the Warriors just played the fastest paced team in the league and held up. So, if the Warriors want to play fast, I don't think the Lakers are really equipped for that. Not in the long run, anyway. They can do it for maybe 2 games, but over 7 games, I don't think they can play at that pace. Really, honestly, everything we're saying favors Golden State in 6, but I really do think LeBron's going to go to another level. Difference between him and Steph, though, the level he can go to, that next level, LeBron can maybe do that for 4 games. Steph can probably do that for all 7. Not probably. He can do that for all 7. We've seen that. So, yeah, I think it's the Warriors' time. I really do. You could almost say, and I don't want to sneeze at the Nuggets here, but you could almost say whoever wins this game or wins this series will go to the finals. Will be the Western Conference representative. So there's just so much here. And you talk about...
And the Nuggets would love it, too, because really their last 2 real playoff runs, 2 of their last 3 real playoff runs, one ended at the hand of the Lakers in the conference finals, and then last year ended at the Warriors. So they probably want whomever else. Either one of them, we want to redeem ourselves against them. So the Nuggets probably so it's going to be interesting to see that, too, and because we all feel like the Nuggets are winning that. And if not, for some reason, if Phoenix does win that, then we get Durant and
which is
LeBron,
awesome.
Or we get Durant and Steph, which is still
we're really blessed. We're
still
blessed.
Amazing. So it's not like it really is the West. We're blessed.
In the West. We even
in East too, but the West.
I was saying to Keenan the other day, I believe, even though there wasn't many thrillers in the first round, obviously Golden State and the Kings take the cake. Even though it wasn't necessarily wire-to-wire games all over, the quality of basketball, I believe that's one of the best first rounds we've ever had, if not the best. And now in the second round, we could. I'm sure there was people out there weeks ago who predicted maybe Nuggets Suns as a conference final or Warriors Lakers as a conference final. Those are conference final matchups. Boston Philly too. That could be a conference final matchup. Nobody predicted the Knicks and Heat, obviously, but those are such even teams. Look, we all picked these series to go either 6 or 7. I think the Nuggets Suns, weirdly enough, is the only one that truly threatens 5. But I think all of these are going to be fantastic series for sure. And just to add what you said, Keen, about the legacy talk, it's already a weird conversation, but you of course lead towards LeBron because of what he did. But yeah, if Steph gets a 5th, or if LeBron gets a 5th, both of those guys vault themselves to another category if they get their 5th. So they're both going to be hungry for it, needless to say. Last, because I know Cam's got to go here. Cam, do we have a... Oh, go ahead. Go ahead before we move on.
Yeah. Yes, I can give you the standings. I think that's what you're going into. But, if Steph gets 5... I know it's obviously you talk with LeBron too, but I don't like to do it too early, but you can almost creep in Magic for best point guard ever because then they both have 5. I know Magic has 3 MVPs to Curry's 2, but that starts to become a thought.
It does, and it's a real thought.
Not a conversation. I don't always and I don't want to just definitively try to have that only because Steph still has. He's at the peak of his powers now. He probably has 2 or 3 more peak years, and then a couple years coming down.
Yep.
LeBron is now. I could see Steph playing another 4, 5 years
and competing in the playoffs at a high level.
at top 10 to top 15 level play at a minimum. So he's still got time to maybe if they may get a different Warriors cast and he can still go there. I don't think he'll ever leave, but if for some reason he leaves and goes to a different team, maybe they win there. I don't see that happening though. So, but yeah, that was my one point that I wanted to say that's interesting and that could be in the realm. I know Stephen A mentioned it after today.
I have two more Steph points before we give our live standings. Steph.
Yes.
First of all, where the fuck was I going with? Oh shit, Curry. Steph Curry. He's the only player in the league where if it's the regular season, I turn on a game and he's playing, or if it's like in today's case, whenever I watch him play every single game, no matter what, he's the only player where I like end up laughing out loud at something he does, or like being like, what the fuck did he just do? Like every single game, he does something highlight worthy, and it becomes so normal. Like the announcers sometimes don't even react to something crazy he does because it's so regular for Steph. You know what I mean? Like he hit a fall away 3 today from like 35.
Yes.
And it was like, a high arcing shot. I laughed out loud. And it was after he scored like 6 straight points. Like you get that with Steph regular season. If he's having a bad game, no matter what, he's going to pull off a play where you're like, what the fuck is wrong with this dude? Like, where does it even come out of your head to even pull that off in a game, Steph? Like, why are you even doing that? You know what I mean? Like, he's just on a different fucking planet. He really is.
Oh, and one thing I want to quickly add before you get to your second Steph point there was that they didn't mention two things. You brought it, one we talked about, the other one you didn't. You talked about the ball handling on Trey Lyles that they just didn't even replay.
They didn't.
That
I
was crazy.
forgot about that.
And his 50th hit, they just didn't replay it, and he put him in a blender. And then his 50th,
oh my goodness,
he split 2 double teams and then laid the ball at the best. Like the ball handling was crazy, and no one that highlight will literally go and never be talked about. But it's just like the ball control he had there was just insane in itself. I just wanted to say that on your talking about. He does something that's amazing every single day. But what's your
last one
point,
is
Kyle?
if Steph does get to 5 rings, we're having a real conversation. Greatest light skin of all time, Drake, Curry, and then obviously late career Michael Jackson. So, or mid career Michael Jackson, I should say. So that's a 3-way battle for those. So that's all. That's the important point I had to make. One last thing. This is just playoffs in general. My bad, because I know Cam's got to go. But this is the last thing. This is truly a takeaway that I've had watching and listening to these games. I really wish we had Doris Burke on the A team with Mike Breen. If it was just, I don't care if it was Breen, Van Gundy, and Burke or whoever. If it was just Breen and Burke, I think that would be our best duo in the playoffs as far as like a booth. Because I think she brings the emotion and she breaks down the game well and explains stuff very well. I think she's more than deserving to be A-team now. I hope that happens over the next 5 years because her and Breen would be great together.
It's got to. Hopefully. Yeah, it'd be a good matchup.
I also think that I like Hubie Brown.
Yeah, Hubie still got it. He still does his research.
Because, Hubie was used to be on the A-team. I was going to say, Hubie... And the fact that he never says, like, he always uses the backboard, he always says the board, puts it right out off the board. And the way he talks is so old school, but he's still up to date with the nuance, and he doesn't actually sound like an old head.
He truly
like,
researches.
Back in the day when Bill Russell and he legitimately watches. He knows the 8th, he knows the 9th, the 10th players on the teams and what they bring to the table legitimately.
While we're on the topic,
that's just another guy I really
while we're
like
on the
Hubie.
topic, I don't understand how TNT does this because they have the greatest studio show of all time. You'd figure they'd be able to get the booth right. They parted ways after the pandemic with Chris Webber, who's like one of the worst color commentators I've ever heard. Like I just remember vividly.
He's actually a really good analyst.
He's a good studio analyst, which is weird. But on a color commentary, I remember vividly just one time watching a game and Kevin Durant made a right-handed layup. And he said it was a sky hook. And I'm like, what the fuck is this guy watching? He's courtside, and he called that shit a sky hook. Whatever. Right? And I hate to say this because this guy, like, sounds and seems like a really nice dude. And, obviously he's a Hall of Famer. But Grant Hill, man, I cannot do it with him. He'll make good points during a game, but he talks with, like, no emotion at all. Like, I think he was doing the Suns and Nuggets last night, and the Nuggets crowd's going crazy, and it's like a point where you want to show some excitement, and Grant Hill's like, Jokic to Murray for a layup. Like, he did not just match the intensity of the game or the excitement of the game at all. But he does make some good points, and he knows what he's talking about, certainly more than Chris Webber, but he just does not match the excitement of playoff basketball. Anyway, live standings.
Yeah, he's
live
boring.
standings.
Mm-hmm. So after round one, we got Kamden in the league. So he had the Bucks as
Which
first
was
round
controversial.
pick. They only got 1 point. He had Memphis.
Yeah, well,
But the good thing is his fifth pick. So the 2 he had Memphis. They only got 2. 3 he had Philly. They got 7. 4 he had
Sweet.
the Knicks. They got 7. And 5 he had Miami, and they got 7. So he picked the 1-8 perfectly fine. So he was able to, instead of Milwaukee, he was able to get those points there. So he's at 24 right now.
you got
Kyle,
my
you
sweep
picked this-
points right too, right? I got a sweep in there.
No, we didn't have points for a sweep.
We should.
We only had points for a
I was
negative
just thinking
sweep.
about.
If we look
Oh.
at it, we only
Should we add
Okay.
for a sweep? It's too late now.
we
We can discuss that after.
No, it's too late.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
it was-
good. It's good.
I was say we only had points for because I looked through it again because I was like
There was a reason why I didn't-
Okay.
So he
There's a
he's
reason
at
why I didn't
24.
include sweep points. I can't remember why though, but it does seem like we should have it. But moving on.
Kyle, Celtics first pick they got 7. Denver second pick they got 7. Lakers third pick they got 7. Fourth pick was the Kings, they got 3. So he's sitting at a beautiful 24 there. And then he
Sweet.
picked the Nets. They got swept.
Deduction
That's
for
minus
me.
5. So he's down to 19.
So wait, what's Cam sitting at?
So
I
he's
got
at
19.
19. He's in second, though. Cam's at 24.
I'm in range.
You're at 19. Both of you guys have 3 people in the second round. You're in range for sure. I had the Warriors versus first pick. They got 7. I got the Suns second pick. They got 7. Got the Cavs.
Got you one game. Got you one game.
Yeah, got the Cavs there. That was nice. They got 1. I got the Clippers. I wish they would have had been
That's a bad
healthy. They
draw.
got me 1, and then I got the Wolves. They got me 1. So I'm at 7.
They gritted it out. They did
So
all right.
essentially, my hope. Yeah, they got me. See, I was really just glad they got me 1 because it was a 6-point swing.
Yep.
They knew I needed this because that's a
Dub.
6-point swing. Because if not, they're swept, and I'm literally sitting at like 11. So my hope is that the Warriors win it all because I
is your
have,
hope.
as we've already talked about, I have no faith that I have no faith in Phoenix. My only hope is that the Warriors win it all for me to win this thing because you guys, but you have all the East, Kamden. You have the Sixers, the Knicks, and the Heat. So essentially, and then obviously,
Somebody's going, yeah.
so you're getting extra. Someone's going to the next round. So you've got the next round booked. You've got at least another 7 points coming here
Yep.
at a minimum. And then Kyle, you have the Celtics, the Nuggets, the Lakers. In my opinion, you have at least 7 points at a minimum. Obviously, I think the Celtics is not and the Lakers aren't getting swept, but the Nuggets I think should advance. And then I have the Warriors and Suns, and so that one's iffy. But yeah, so that's the standings. Kyle's
Like
in
it.
second with 19. Camden's in first with 24. I'm in third with 17.
Funny-
You guys have a good start. Camden's
Funny
looking
part
good.
was
that Miami pick
definitely
saved
did.
him.
It
It
definitely
sure did.
The funny part was I had the Hawks sitting right there, and I'm like, nah, they're getting swept. And then they get 2, and then the Nets end up getting completely swept. So that bit me.
Yeah, you'd be in first right now if that was the case. That would have been
Yeah.
a 7-point swing.
Yep. If I went with my heart and I took the Celtics first, I would have been in a great place.
would be.
Would have been in a great place.
Oh God, you would have been absolutely in an amazing.
One
place.
last thing before we sign off. You know who is extremely happy that the Bucks did what they did and lost in 5, and Giannis didn't show up? Which, by the way, I do want to hear Camden's thoughts on, before I get to my point, I do want to hear Camden's thoughts on Giannis did miss 2 3/4 of a game, and they lost in 5. Like, do you think the heat he's taking is apropos? I mean, I think they should have at least won that final game to push to a game 6, right? Like, I don't think that's too much to ask of Giannis, right? And I also think it's crazy that he had 38 and 20, and we're all like, he didn't play well, because that's the high of a standard. Like, that's a LeBron level standard that we hold him to. For him to go 38 and 20, and all of us say, nah, he didn't play well enough, because he didn't. Throwing the ball around, all that. How do you feel about that? As I interrupt my own point.
Man, yeah, it's unbelievable that they lost in a lot of ways. And we're holding him up to that LeBron level of what he did, which was great, wasn't enough. And I think that's fair. He's the best player on the planet. That's who he is. And with this loss, it's stripped away. It's stripped away. And
Keenan doing the
there's no reason. Yeah. There's no reason they should lose to an 8 seed. You know what I mean? It's like he's now he's a Hall of Famer, sure, but he's not he showed us this aspect of he can't win when it matters the most. And I liked his post game talk. Like, sure, great to hear it, but also you lost, dude. You lost, and this is. You should own that in some ways too, Yeah, I wish that went. I love Jimmy Butler though, so it's like Jimmy Butler's the man, and that's a tough matchup to go off. I was worried about the Celtics getting the Heat because I thought they might lose that one themselves as well.
And apparently, with the way they lost to the Hawks, they might have lost.
That's what I'm saying.
Jesus.
That's what I'm saying.
Jesus.
So there is a little grace because it's Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler needs to get himself a ring too, dude, because he's unreal in the playoffs. I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's what can I say? Like, Steph doesn't lose in the first round. You know what I mean? To an 8 seed. LeBron didn't do those things. In that team, Giannis's team is built for him. There's going to be some changes for sure, but that's a great team. They have defense. They've got other players to score. Chris Middleton's one of the best, just like I need a bucket players in the league. You give him the ball. It's unbelievable they lost, and he just didn't do enough. And he was literally being guarded by Jimmy sometimes, Jimmy should be able to dog him in that sort of way. So, yeah, I was upset with that, and I do think that he loses his best player in the world. He's not that guy right now.
100%. Keenan, we kind of missed on not making our cover photo of the previous episode, reviewing the Bucks and Heat, of Giannis throwing the ball, that little short-arm throw that you did there. That should have been the cover photo.
Kyle, I can switch it. Right?
My original point, and we're going way over. Cam, are you late for your meeting now because of us?
I told you 9. My meeting starts in 2 minutes.
Oh, you're good? Oh, you're good.
So,
you're good. I thought...
I'm good for 2 minutes. It starts in 2 minutes.
I thought you had to go at 9, so we're good. We're good money.
So I got to bounce out at 9:20.
We're good money. We'll be out of there right around then. I just wanted to say, I interrupted my own point, but the person who's most glad about Giannis and the Bucks' failures is Donovan Mitchell, because he was dog shit in that round against the Knicks. He did not perform well at all, and it's swept completely under the rug because of Giannis.
Sure, dude.
Yeah, good for him. And also, not to the same extent, but Memphis, they're still getting talked about. But again, not to the same extent. Memphis didn't choke or anything. They lost to a Lakers team.
It was a bad matchup for them.
It's just the fact that they have talked so much.
Yep.
That thank God and they're still getting their slander, but thank God Giannis happened for them too, because if not.
Yeah.
All the memes would be out there.
Oh, Memphis is getting their treatment. They're definitely getting their treatment. Trust me on that.
It would be worse, though. It would be worse.
Yeah, probably. They'd be the main focus, but I'd say it's shifted from the Bucks to the Grizzlies now since the other night. But I see what y'all are saying though too.
That's fair, a
but,
little bit. But
yeah, interesting to see how they bounce back, because they definitely will not have Dylan Brooks back.
And we know. No. but it's that time.
Yeah, we're out of here.
This is my
Cam,
time to say
thanks for
peace.
joining us.
All right. So this is the Warner Brothas podcast.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. We appreciate everything. Like, comment, subscribe, share, everything. Kamden, again, thank you very much, and we're out.
See you guys.